Why women call fit older men intimidating, and what they really mean. The hidden meaning behind the word. When a woman calls you intimidating, it might sound like a compliment. You think she's admiring your strength, your gym progress, or your presence. But in truth, that word often hides something far deeper, a mix of attraction, cognitive dissonance, and internal conflict. Rewriting the script on male aging. Because when a woman sees an older man, say, in his 40s or 50s, who's fit, sharp, and composed, she's witnessing a walking contradiction to everything she's been told about male aging and male value. Society told her that men peak at 25 and fade into softness, resignation, and midlife complacency. But when you show up at 48 with shoulder definition and quiet confidence, you're not fitting the script. You're rewriting it. And that, right there, is what she calls intimidating. Intimidating is code for out of my league or too disciplined for me. Most men hear intimidating and think it's about muscles. It's not. It's about mastery, the invisible quality that radiates from a man who has done the inner and outer work over decades. When she calls you intimidating, she's subconsciously saying, you make me question my own discipline. Because what truly unsettles her isn't your biceps or jawline. It's your consistency, the quiet proof that effort over time creates results. That kind of presence reminds her of everything she could be if she had committed to her own growth with the same level of persistence. A fit older man represents earned excellence. And that excellence triggers reflection. She's not sure if she can keep up with that standard, so she softens the truth with a socially acceptable word, intimidating. Think about Keanu Reeves. He's admired not just for his roles, but for his discipline, humility, and timeless composure. Women call him intimidating, not because of fear, but because his quiet consistency exposes how rare genuine discipline is. Fit older men expose younger men's laziness, and women notice the contrast. A fit older man doesn't just look better, he represents contrast. He reveals the difference between youth and maturity, between a body that's given everything and one that's coasting on potential. Younger men often take youth as an excuse to neglect themselves. They have energy but lack direction. They rely on metabolism instead of mastery. So when a woman sees a 45-year-old man who could outlift her 25-year-old boyfriend, it's a shock to the system. Because now she's not just comparing abs, she's comparing discipline. And that's the deeper layer of attraction. She realizes that a man who has built his body over decades has probably built his mindset, his patience, and his values the same way. Look at David Beckham. At 50, he's still in remarkable shape, not because of vanity, but because of consistency. Compare him to a younger influencer who treats health casually, and you'll see the same pattern play out. Women aren't drawn to age, they're drawn to standards. The age-defying body creates cognitive dissonance. Psychologically, intimidation often comes from cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort we feel when reality clashes with what we've been taught to believe. Society conditions women and men to think aging equals decline. Men are expected to slow down, gain weight, and fade quietly into irrelevance. So when a woman meets a man in his 50s who's fit, focused, and magnetic, her brain has to reconcile two conflicting ideas. Older men lose their edge. This man clearly hasn't. That inner tension, that mental short circuit, is what she labels as intimidation. Take Sylvester Stallone, for instance. At 70, he's still in fighting shape, training like he did decades ago. His very existence challenges the cultural narrative of decline. When a woman sees that, she's not just seeing muscle, she's seeing defiance. And that kind of defiance is electric. You're not just aging, you're aging against the grain. And that forces everyone around you to question what's possible for themselves. Commitment is the real aphrodisiac. Most men start things. Few stay. They begin fitness routines, make promises, set goals, but consistency fades. That's why women find a disciplined older man magnetic. Because to stay in shape for decades requires something rarer than testosterone, it requires commitment. A fit body at 50 says, I don't quit. And that message translates far beyond the gym. It tells her you finish what you start, in business, in relationships, in life. It tells her that your strength isn't random, it's earned stability. Robert Downey Jr. is a living embodiment of this. His journey from chaos to mastery is not just a redemption story, it's a symbol of sustained commitment. When a woman sees that kind of steadiness, she doesn't just feel attraction, she feels trust. And trust is far sexier than youth. Intimidation equals attraction mixed with fear of rejection. Here's the psychological truth. Intimidation often masks a fear of inadequacy. When a woman says you're intimidating, what she really means is, you make me question whether I'm enough for you. It's a mix of awe and self-doubt. She's drawn to your strength but unsure if she can match your energy, your discipline, or your emotional control. It's attraction intertwined with vulnerability. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson embodies this dynamic perfectly. Women admire his power, his drive, his positivity, yet many admit they'd feel intimidated around him. Why? Because he represents relentless growth, and that kind of energy forces people to confront their own excuses. But here's the paradox. That fear is part of what draws them in. Because the same traits that make you intimidating also make you magnetic. The real meaning behind, you're intimidating. So next time a woman calls you intimidating, understand what's really being said. It's not rejection, it's recognition. She's not saying, you scare me, she's saying, you challenge me. You represent discipline in a culture that celebrates distraction. You embody maturity in a world obsessed with youth. And you've built yourself into proof that excellence doesn't expire. The intimidation is not about you. It's about what you awaken in her, the awareness that greatness is still possible, and that maybe, she's been playing small. So smile when she calls you intimidating. You've earned that reaction, because what she's really saying is, you're everything I didn't think still existed. Key takeaways. Intimidating equals out of my league. It's rarely about fear, it's about respect and self-awareness. Fit older men reveal contrast. You highlight the difference between potential and discipline. Your body defies cultural scripts. You're proof that men can age into power, not out of it. Consistency is the real magnet. Commitment is more attractive than charisma. Intimidation is attraction with a shadow of self-doubt. It's a compliment wrapped in vulnerability. Final thought. The older, fit, grounded man isn't intimidating because he's superior. He's intimidating because he reminds the world, and every woman who meets him, that strength, discipline, and confidence age like fine wine. That's not fear you're seeing in her eyes. That's fascination.